A, the City Council will review the proposed budget for the City of Poplar Bluff and municipal utilities fiscal year 2020.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, public. First of all, I'd like to thank all of our department heads for being here tonight. They're an excellent group to work with, and I can tell you that they make my job a lot easier, and I really appreciate it. And this budget couldn't be put together without their input and their help. It's a team effort, and I appreciate it. If you have any specific questions concerning their budgets, they may be able to answer a little better than I have since they deal with it, their department daily. I'd also like to thank all of our city employees, utility employees for all the hard work they do for the citizens of Poplar Bluff. We have a great group of employees. I think I've said for the last several years putting this budget together has been a difficult task, and this one definitely was. Most of what I'll be talking about will be concerning the general fund budget. As I've stated before, about 45% of the general fund revenues come from the 1-cent sales tax that was passed by voters back in the early 1970s. Sales tax for the last several years has had an average growth of 2 to 2.5%. I've said for the last several years some of this is due to internet sales, online sales. Just last week I read an article where internet sales reached an all-time high on Black Friday of $7.4 billion. Black Friday is supposed to be the brick and mortar day, while brick and mortar sales for Black Friday were down 6.2%. This is only going to get worse, and it slowly is deteriorating our sales tax base. And it's not just Poplar Bluff, it's all over, at least all over Missouri, that haven't passed a use tax. There's been other general fund revenues that were also down over the last couple of years, which makes it even more difficult to balance a budget. I thought for the last 2 years we had a good budget, and they've come in deficit budgets for the last several years. This current year, on the expenditure side, the police department's had a very difficult year. At one time, we had 7 officers out on various reasons, sick leave, work comp, things like that. But in order to keep the community protected, those positions had to be covered. So this escalated their overtime budget dramatically. In trying to analyze what has happened over the last few years, I went back and looked at revenues and expenditures back to 2015. This was the year that Mr. Kaplan was city manager up until June of that year. That year's payroll was higher for that year than any of the following years that we've had. There was also a large mistake in the budget that year on health insurance in one of the departments. Our general fund balance in 2015 dropped over $2 million. A lot of that was before June even got here. The 3 following years combined, the balance has dropped in general fund about $1.2 million, not each year, but for years combined. I've been saying for the last few years that we've been dipping into reserves in general fund, and now we are at the point where we must stop. What I'll do now is take you through the proposed budget, and at the end of the general fund, I'll explain to you where we are, and then I will take you through the capital budget and other funds, and then the utility budget is in the very back of the book that Mr. Bach is here, he can address. First of all, if you go to page 2, that is where the general fund revenues start. You have 3 columns, 2018 actual, 2019 estimated, 2020 proposed. On page 5, you'll see a total of estimated revenues for 2020 of $12,071,547. On page 7, you'll see a summary of all general fund departments from city council all the way through non-department. Total salary cost for all those departments is $6,511,709. FICA and Medicare, cost of $237,048. Insurance, which is life insurance, health insurance, optical insurance, and dental insurance, and retirement costs, which is loggers, is $3,020,176. That combined percentage comes to salaries at 52.67% of the total budget, 1.92% of the FICA and Medicare for the total budget, and insurance and retirement cost of 24.43%. So basically, you can say that an employee's salary, if it's $40,000, there's about another additional $20,000 in insurance and retirement cost added to that. Actually depends on what type of coverage the employee has, but so a total personnel cost in the entire budget of 79.02%. Organizational series, which is operating supplies, gasoline, things like that, $1,692,121, or 13.69% of the budget. And transfers out, which includes transfers to the Coliseum, the pool and the fitness, the art museum, the airport, and our portion of the TIF district for 8 points comes to $902,000, or 7.3% of the budget. City Council's total budget is $15,734, and these are all in detail behind this summary sheet, but I'll just go through the summary sheet. City Manager, $178,741. City Attorney, $96,761. Municipal Court, $233,368. City Clerk, $193,717. Human Resources, $104,841. Finance and Collections, $336,390. You'll come to mosquito abatement. In order to get this budget in a better condition, I have eliminated the mosquito abatement program, so that is set at zero. Planning Department is $305,371. Police Department, $5,035,023. Animal Control, $140,252. Code Enforcement, $156,152. Fire Department, $2,434,247. Street Department, $1,376,630. Cemetery Department, $217,696. Motor Pool Department, $406,935. And non-department, $1,131,271. So where does this leave us with the general fund? What I presented to you is a deficit budget of $291,000. To get to that point, we, as I said earlier, eliminated the mosquito abatement program. We've also eliminated 3 part-time positions. I would prefer not to discuss those specific because we've not talked to those employees yet. In the budget is, but also in the budget is $99,000 for rent for the police department, parking area for the police department and City Hall. Also in this budget is over $100,000 for maintenance and monitoring of the computer system that was purchased under previous administration. This does not include equipment that we have had to purchase for the computer system that had to be replaced. We are in the process of trying to migrate off of this computer system to try to save money. As you're aware, that computer system cost several $1 million several years ago. When Mr. Kaplan left, we brought in a consultant actually out of Pennsylvania to look at our system, and there wasn't anybody here in Poplar Bluff that was familiar with that elaborate of a computer system. I may have discussed this publicly, I'm not sure, but while I was on the phone talking to some of their people, they asked me what the population of Poplar Bluff was. I told them around 17,000 people. They laughed and said, well, your computer system you have now is just a little above what the city of Denver, Colorado has. So we have an excellent computer system that far exceeds our needs.
Thank you, Mr. Captain.
Yes. I'll move on to capital.
What page are you going to be on, sir?
That's what I was looking for. Page 77.
Okay.
We do have a, I'll wait till y'all get there. We still have a healthy reserve in capital of $900,000 approximately. That money cannot be used for anything but capital expenditures. Have a total estimated revenue of $2,694,121. Some of that comes from utilities to help pay for the Southern Bank loan for their metering system. Hopefully some of it will be reimbursed for some expenditures we've had on the City Hall complex this year. First one is municipal court of $2,650. And these are all behind, there's detailed budgets behind the summary sheet. Finance of $500. Planning of $48,000. Excuse me. I know that's for one vehicle for the building inspector, and I think he's tried out 4 or 5 different vehicles this year, and they keep breaking down on him. So, and also for some computer software for building inspections and permitting. Police department, $325,212 for vehicles and replacing some of the computers in the police cars that were bought several years ago. Animal control, $4,500. Code enforcement, $600. Fire department, $259,900. Street department, $220,000. Cemetery, $49,880. Airport, $42,410. We will probably be coming back to you later in the year. We have an airport project coming up probably towards the middle or end of the year, the replacement of our runway. That's part of the reserve, $900,000. It won't take near that much, but that's one reason we're holding some of that money back. Motor pool, $10,500. Non-department, $1,369,769. That's for payment of the Southern Bank loan for the computer system and the meters, and for our portion of the Highway 67 and Oak Grove overpass that gets paid to MoDOT each year. That gets paid off in 2022. Art Museum, $4,000. Street construction, $230,000. That's overlay and paving of streets, sidewalks, various things like that. Black River Coliseum, $45,800. We need to replace the tile in the lobby. It's starting to peel and looking really bad. Some of that money will also be used to finish some painting on the front end and cleaning off. If you'll go around the building when you're out there in the daylight, we've cleaned off the back of the building and the side by the bay doors and part over there by the swimming pool. We weren't able to finish by the swimming pool. We're going to have to rent a different lift so it can get the person out there, but it looks 100 times better than it did. So we'll get that done probably the first quarter of next year. And then the Pool and Fitness Center, $15,000 for some equipment, which brings total expenditures of $2,628,721, with hopefully an ending balance of $965,400 in capital improvements. Much better shape than general fund. Now we'll go to the other funds, which is on page 35. The first department or fund is the airport fund. Have total revenues of $708,172, which includes $76,000 coming from general fund. Have total expenditures of $708,172. After that, page 40 is the Highway 67 fund. Have estimated revenues of $2,527,857. Professional services is $2,352,857, and that will be the payment to MoDOT for our portion of the four-laning from Poplar Bluff to Fredericktown. And then the transfer to the EATS accounts, which is the TIF district, $175,000. So a balance budget of $2,527,857. Next, you'll find revenues on the golf course. Revenues of $460,000. $225,000 of that which comes from the park department funds, with expenditures of the same amount, $460,000. Page 48 have park department revenues. Revenues of $1,359,000, and expenditures on page 50 of $1,399,750. May need to double check that one. Page 52, Golf Park Capital Fund. Our half-cent capital improvement sales tax that we have, when it was passed, it was approved by the voters that the park department gets 12.5% of that tax, and that's the $320,000 in the revenue. In the golf portion of capital fund, $181,209 in expenditures. In the park portion of capital, $92,650 for a total of $273,859. Art Museum, a total of $101,022 in revenue. Actually, those numbers, or pages to be switched. 57 shows the revenues. $78,842 of that comes from general fund. And then on page 56, expenditures of the same amount, $101,022. Police and fire pension, revenues on page 59. Now those are switched too. Revenues of $436,265 and expenditures of the same amount. Tourism tax, revenues of approximately $320,400 and expenditures of $420,000. That includes money for tourism to the chamber, and then money for downtown Poplar Bluff. And some of that's coming out of reserves for the portion of the tourism tax that we have to spend on tourism. At one time, it had a balance of $300 and something thousand. It's slowly going down. Black River Coliseum, revenues of $706,976, with hopefully only $10,376 coming from general fund now. Expenditures of the same amount. Revenues for the pool and fitness center, $257,149, with $126,749 coming from general fund. And expenditures of the same amount. Special allocation fund, this is for the TIF district. It's more of an accounting item than it is a budget item, but total revenues of $902,000 and total expenditures of $902,000, and that's money coming from the other entities that collect sales tax or property tax. And that is the end of the other funds. Before I try to summarize our budget, if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I'll be available the rest of this week to answer any questions from any council members or anybody from the public. I know this is a lot of information thrown at you tonight. As I mentioned earlier, we have a $290-something thousand deficit budget. Sure not a budget I wanted to present. I think, as most of you know, a city must provide essential services to its citizens. This includes police protection, fire protection, and streets. Of course, you must have other departments such as planning, zoning, finance, collection, clerical, administrative staff, and support staff to operate a city. Places like the Black River Coliseum, the pool and the fitness, the art museum are places that definitely help our community. I think they help bring people to our community, and they're definitely an asset to our community, but they are not essential services that a city has to operate or offer. I present this budget with a lot of frustration. What I propose is we place the use tax on the April ballot once again. We need a full-blown campaign to educate and promote the tax. We'll need financial support from the local businesses because this affects them. City can only spend money on educating the voters, not promoting it. So if we're going to do a promotion, we'll have to have outside money help, whether it's from local businesses or the chamber or anybody that wants to help. In April, if the tax does not pass, We're going to have to take a look at cutting even more drastically because we can't operate all year with a $290-something deficit budget. If it fails, we may have to look at eliminating non-essential services, such as closing down the pool and fitness center and asking the art museum that they would have to operate on donations and fundraiser. If it doesn't pass, we may also need to look at putting our police officers back to 8-hour shifts instead of 12-hour shifts. These are actions I don't want to take, and I don't think the public does either. I know it kind of sounds like a threat. If we don't pass this tax, this is what's going to happen, but we can't continue this way. These three items would actually get us to about a balanced budget and probably some extra revenue to boot. But I'm certainly open to any ideas from the council or anybody in the public to get us through this crisis. And I've talked to several city managers over the last year in different communities, and I've had several of them say, yeah, we're capital rich but operating poor because they have a half-cent sales tax, but they haven't been giving raises. Their sales taxes having the same effect as ours is with the internet sales, and it's communities that also has been unable to pass the use tax. So that's my spill on our city budget. If there isn't any questions, Mr. Buck's here. You'll find the municipal budget starts on page 97, and if you don't have any questions at this time, I would just ask Mr. Bach to come up and briefly go through his budget and answer any questions you might have for him.
Well, Mayor, members of the council, I guess there's no other questions on the general fund side. For utilities, as Mark said, we start on page 98, and I'll just read the letter that was included in the packet. If there's any questions after that, feel free to ask. So attached are the electric, water, and sewer budgets for fiscal year 2020. These budgets are subject to the advisory board and council approval. They'll become effective in January 1st of 2020 if approved. These budgets are presented as a proprietary fund of the city and have been prepared showing not only the net income or loss for the year, but also the net effects to cash flows by adjusting depreciation back and subtracting anticipated capital expenditures. The first column of the budget is the actual revenue and expenses for the fiscal year for December 31st of 2018. Second column is revenue and expenses for the fiscal year ending December 31st of 2019, which was prepared using the actual numbers for the first 9 months and an estimated amount for the last 3 months of the year. Last column is what we anticipate to be the revenue and expenses for the fiscal year in December 31st of 2020, based on the estimated column and any additional circumstances that management is presently aware of. Once again, budgets are prepared as a tool for management and fiscal operations of the entity. This is only an estimate, and circumstances may arise during the year that requires adjustments to this budget. And as in prior, we've always came to council for any changes. Utilities has supported general fund through 2019 in a variety of ways. During this past year, MU is expected to charge off approximately $749,000 for the city of Poplar Bluff and utility services. If the city of Poplar Bluff did not own and operate its own utility system, this would have been billed during January 1st of 2019 through December 31st of 2019. Utilities has also supported the general fund with gross receipts tax in the estimated amount of $1,735,000. In addition to these monetary benefits, we've also provided equipment and personnel for many of the city and community projects at no charge. In the electric department, we budgeted $40,610,000 for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2020, and we budgeted expenses of $40,050,000. As you can see, this calculates out to a net gain of approximately $560,000. We budgeted for capital expenditures $2,252,200. When you include the capital expenditures and add back depreciation and amortization to the net gain, it will produce a positive cash flow of $152,000. This budget does not reflect any electric rate increases for 2020, and we currently have approximately $3 million in investments. Several accounts I'd like to bring to the council's attention. In accounts number 731.00, engine and generator repair, we have budgeted $860,000. This includes an $800,000 control upgrade to one of the 3 newer engines. These are almost 20 years old, and we are no longer able to acquire parts for them. We're having a hard time, so we're going to retro one of them, take the parts off of that, and try to get the next 2 going. I'll probably come back the next year and we'll upgrade the second one, and then eventually we'll have all 3 upgraded to a current system. In account number 731.03, other power plant equipment, we have budgeted $250,000, and this is to replace the catalytic converters on engines 1 through 5. That allows us to meet our clean air emissions on Rice Recept. In accounts numbers 222.29 through 574 general, we've budgeted a total of $1,197,600. This includes $220,000 for a new sands unit, the storage array network at White Oak Drive. It's a mandatory piece of equipment for citywide functions. It's at end of life. I think Mark talked about it on his budget also. We have to have it from our side, otherwise we can't do billing, we can't do our day-to-day operations, so we have to have a system that works. If we're going to migrate to something new, that's fine, but we got to keep what we have today so the phones work, the billing system works, everything stays functionable. Let's see, we've also budgeted $375,000 for the purchase of a digger derrick unit and $35,000 for a 1 pickup truck. In the water sewer department, we budgeted revenues of $6,200,000 for the fiscal year and expenses of $6,100,000. As you can see, this calculates out to a net gain of approximately $130,000, and we budgeted $15,791,025 for capital expenditures. This includes $14,200,000 for the wastewater treatment plant improvements project, which is ongoing. When you include the capital expenditures and add back depreciation and amortization to this, it will produce a negative cash flow of $211,885. This also includes a transfer of funds from bond proceeds and reflects the rate increase that was passed this year. It does not include the rate increase at the close. Since we're anticipating an October close, if the council will recall, during the wastewater treatment plant, the SRF bonding required we have approximately 50% at bond closing and 50% at substantial completion. October, we're thinking it should be done, but I didn't plan on an increase. I'll do if it happens, it happens, but it's not in this budget. And let's see, and we currently have approximately $1.7 million in investments. Again, I'd like to bring to the council's attention some of the accounts number. Let's see, account 5312.00 through 5318.00 water pumping and purification. We budgeted $14,260,000. Again, this includes the construction in progress for the wastewater treatment plant. And accounts number 5454.00 through 5463.00 water distribution system. We budgeted approximately $460,000. This is mainly for water main extensions inside the city limits and upgrades. Let's see, in accounts number 5571 through 5574.00 general, we have budgeted approximately $1 million. This includes the purchase of a new sewer vac truck, the bond payment, and payment to the city for the water meter project. Account number 7454 through 7585 sewer collection system, we budgeted $108,000. This includes the upgrades on the sewer mains, manholes, and any lift stations. See, in accounts number 7765 through 776908, sewage collection expense, we budget approximately $900,000. This includes $400,000 for the, we've been ongoing to reduce our I&I. We've been doing slip lining, and that's the bulk of that. So as with budgets in the past, this budget has been prepared by all the department heads and input from a variety of the staff members at utilities. It's simply not my view of what is going to happen in the utilities in the upcoming months, but a collective and cooperative approach from all department heads and staff, what will happen during the fiscal year 2020. Any questions on the utility budget?
Yes, maybe just to help me a little bit. The gross receipts tax, Bill, help me, is that basically a sales tax as on other retail items?
Well, it's a franchise fee,
Okay,
same as phone, gas, cable. We all have a franchise fee. We collect that as part of utilities. It's based on what you purchase and services provided, a percent.
has there been a study, or you may not be in a position to speak to it, is it in the range of what other comparable municipal utilities and cities have? And you may not be where you could speak to that right now.
I would say yes.
Okay. Would you mind checking that a little bit for us, just out of curiosity?
So the Herman, Mr. Richardson, you may know this better than me. Herman, Missouri, there was a lawsuit, and there was a number that was brought up that goes to Mr. Black's comment, I believe.
Okay.
You know what I'm referring to? It happened in Herman, Missouri.
I'm familiar with the lawsuit, yes.
Yeah, and either Mark or I will review that.
I think you know the chair.
Yeah.
We want to be in the marketplace, and I have no.
Well, what happened in the lawsuit was the city kept increasing and increasing, and the public got mad, and then there was a lawsuit. And I think when it went to the state, they set a allowable limit, ceiling, I'll call it. Does that sound right?
That is correct, Mr. Bach, yes.
And the city could charge that up to that amount. Other than that, I won't say it was, I always know about a Herman something. They call it something else now, I think.
And I believe that we are below the threshold that was ultimately established by the court.
Right. That's correct.
Yeah. Well, certainly would have to be. It sounds like.
And that's one of those, we collect it from the gas company, and like Bill said, and the cable company. And boy, it is so hard to budget each year because, this past year, natural gas has been cheap. And then when you have warm months, it's just a guessing game. But right now, all those are at 5%. But I guess that's definitely something we need to.
My thinking was simple, Bill, that we have increased some fees and permits that had gotten,
Right.
as you're aware, in some of our departments, that needed to be adjusted to comps. And so I'd just raise that under that
Right.
heading for us.
Well, I do know what happens if we, as the council has approved rate increases,
Proportionally boost.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, I follow you. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sure. Good. Oh, and then it really not directly to budget while you're there, you might just want to, if you would, just say a word to us on a report of the construction for the water treatment plant, moving, doing.
It's actually ahead of schedule. I believe we're, Billy, 15% into the project? Approximately 15% into the project, and it's actually ahead. The weather's been nice to us, and now it's got cold, so it may back up.
Thanks.
Yeah.
A lot of work, gentlemen. Thank you all.
I don't
Thank
have
you.
anything. Thank you, Mr. Bach. Any further questions on the budget?
Jim Crispin, 464 North Main, and it was certainly hard to follow going through, but I do have one question. On page 98, the gross receipt tax of $1,735,648.70. Is that the same number that is on page 2 under the city utilities?
Yes.
So those numbers need to be reconciled?
No, I think, I'm just talking for Bill here, I think those were estimates, and, you know, it's a budget number. This year, it looks like it's coming in at
About $85,000
$1,775. Actually, it may come in a little more than that, so.
And I have 2 or 3 other questions. Are there budgeted funds for the City Hall Police Station project and consultant associated there? Are those numbers budgeted?
No, they are not budgeted yet. I wanted to get a little bit farther into the process with the financing, and we'll come back with a
And one
budget
other-
adjustment for those.
One other thing that I would like to recommend is that we find a way to hire an assistant city manager. Heaven forbid, but if something happens to Mark and he's not here tomorrow, what does this city do? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Jim, I guess I'll take that as a compliment. I don't know. Thank you. I've kind of been beating myself up lately over this budget, so I don't know.
Anything further on the budget, Mr. Massingham?
No, I would just recommend that you, somebody make a motion to put it on as a workshop item and voting session on the 16th.
So move.
And vote.
And vote,
And
yes.
voting, yes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. It will be on the 16th workshop and voting session. Item B, the city council will discuss transfer of other funds for health insurance.
Yes, this actually came up a couple of years ago during an audit review. You know, if you look at the health insurance fund, it shows a deficit of, a few years ago it was $3 million. I'm hoping that at the end of this year it'll be around $1.6 million deficit, which is a great improvement. But in the audit, the way the audit's put together and the way our financials look at, the auditors always say, and when people look at our audit, that general fund owes the health insurance fund $1.5 million, which is not necessarily true. That insurance fund is basically an insurance pool for all city employees, including general fund employees, utility employees, park department, golf employees, Black River Coliseum Pool and Fitness and Art Museum employees. I don't have figures tonight, but what we are proposing that we figure out a percentage of like how many utility employees. I think it's around 28 to 30% of their employees are in our insurance pool, and of course with Art Museum it's only one person, and then the other departments it's just a handful of people. But what I would propose as whatever the deficit is at the end of November of this year, that we multiply that by employee percentage, and that money would come from those funds into the health insurance fund. And then we will definitely have to monitor that fund as, hopefully as the fund gets healthier, and it'll eventually even out. That's what we were proposing, though. And like I said, this came up audit review a couple of years ago. We talked about doing it that year. We talked about doing it last year, and the insurance fund kept getting a little healthier and a little healthier. And But it's still going to take some time to get out of it, so.
Mr. Messingham, when I came on the council, that was one pretty good discussion I had with the auditors at the time. It only seems in order to me that although it's handled through the general fund, but other funds and departments, such as you mentioned, are employees that are a part of that insurance. And so either the gain or the loss in that fund is proportioned to the number of employees, or if there's some other rationale, but some rationale. And I think it's only in line that we each are responsible for ours, general fund for ours and others for the others. And I think that only makes sense that we would move in that direction.
Yes, sir. We talked about it one time, looking at how many actual claims that one department had, or, first of all, you'd have to go back years and do a detailed claim, and I really think at that point you would get into HIPAA violations, and, like I said, basically it's an insurance pool and everybody shares it, so I think that's the fair way to do it.
We just share it proportionally.
Right.
By employee.
And I think what's hard for people to understand is, when you look at our balance sheet for general fund, it may say we've got $4 million in our accounts payable account for general fund. Well, we have a pooled account, which takes up all those funds that I went through tonight, except for utilities. And so when you look at the balance sheet for general fund, if it says we have $4 million, then you look at the balance sheet for the health insurance fund, and it says you have minus $1.5 million in that account. So you really have to subtract that to get to what amount is in that actual bank account. So this would also help for cash flow problems also, or issues.
So we need no action on this item.
I would suggest that you pass it to the 16th voting session, and I will get you some numbers for that meeting. We'll have to go through and look over the last few years and count employees that were in the pool and come up with an amount.
A motion that we move that into the voting session on the 16th.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item B will be on the 16th voting session. Item C, the city council will discuss a petition of annexation of the Shelby Road right-of-way from south side of existing Highway PP right-of-way down to the west side of existing Business 67 right-of-way, which is Westwood. Mr. Massingham.
Yes, this is what we talked about the last meeting. It would be from PP Highway down to the intersection at 53 and 67. And it's on the voting session night. What the voting item is to vote for a resolution to have a public hearing on it. And while we're on this topic, though, I just wanted to address one of Mr. Chrisman's comments under his annexation, which I certainly understand what he's saying, but it says, why is Shelby Road being brought in to create another hole in the city? And he's correct, it does create a hole in the city, but once that is brought in, then property on both sides of that road can easily be voluntarily annexed by the property owner. If none of that is in the city limits, we can't just go out and pick a spot on Shelby Road to annex into the city. It has to be contiguous with city property. So that's one reason we were doing this. But I don't know if that helps Mr. Chrisman, but and I understand, you're right. It looks like a hole in the city, and it is. So, like I said, this item's to place, do a resolution to pass it on for a public hearing.
Do we have a motion to that effect? Yes, sir.
address a couple of issues here, and it really should be covered at the later meeting, but as Mark pointed out, it is a hole in the city. We now have at least a dozen holes in the city, and I gave you each a map that I got from the DAR, thank you, Barbara, today, and the map shows very plainly that we have not been doing a good job. There's all kinds of pieces of property around the city. Does the fire department respond to those pieces of property whenever there's a burn?
If they're not in the city, they don't have to, but I know they would step in and help for sure, so.
That's one of the questions. Why is Shelby Road any different from South 67, from Memorial Gardens up to Bedell or 11th Street, whatever it is there? It's not in the city limits. When you're coming in from South 67, you come in and it says you're entering the city of Poplar Bluff. A couple of 100,000 feet beyond that, you go back out, but there's no sign saying leaving Poplar Bluff. So why is that not included in the proposal?
Sure, I'll let.
The difference, Mr. Christman, is that the city doesn't own that land. That's state of Missouri right-of-way. We can't annex something we don't own, and the state of Missouri has not asked us to annex it into the city.
Okay, interesting point. Has the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints asked you to do Shelby Road?
No, sir, we're only annexing a portion of the land that we acquired from the Latter-day Saints. We did not acquire that entire property. We only acquired a sliver off of the edge, the eastern edge of their parking lot. We're not annexing that church, just the sliver that we acquired, which is clearly identified in the legal description that was provided. If you didn't understand it, I'll explain it to you.
I think probably.
I think you need to explain it to the assessor because he doesn't have his map up to date.
No, you're correct, because I looked on it the other day, and it shows that portion of Shelby Road still owned by so there's something wrong at the collector's office, whether it's a legal description or, the assessor's office.
Well, we can't control what the assessor does. I can just tell you what we bought, what the TDD bought, and they bought it in the name of the city, and that was a sliver off that property. The Latter-day Saints still own that church, and we're not annexing it.
No, I'm not talking about the church. I'm talking about the person that you have annexed or wanting to annex.
Yes, sir.
And that you don't own that.
Yeah, it's recorded.
Okay. They don't seem to have that.
Well, that's not, we don't control the assessor's office.
Okay.
Or the recorder's office, or the collector's office.
The other thing is a very similar thing on Highway 142 going out of the city. Is that city property or?
No, sir, it's owned by the state of
Again,
Missouri.
that state right-of-way that you have no control over.
Correct, yes, sir.
Yes, if Shelby Road was built by MoDOT, we wouldn't be doing this because it wouldn't be a city street, it'd be a state highway.
Thank you.
Make a motion, we pass it to tonight's voting session. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Item D, the city council will discuss a petition for annexation of the property located at 3547 North Westwood, owned by Fellowship General Baptist Church.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A similar situation as the one that Mr. Massingham discussed. This one was presented to you at your last meeting. Tonight, it's also on your voting session as a request for a resolution to have a public hearing, I believe in January at the same time as the Shelby Road annexation.
And this building's, I think what us older people know is the old Al Edco's building that was bought by the Fellowship General Baptist
That's
Church
correct.
on 67. So.
And this will need a public hearing.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Motion this be moved to the voting session tonight.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. It will be on tonight's voting session for a public hearing. Item E, the city council will review lease agreements for use of property. Mr. Massey.
Yes, these are lease agreements we did a year ago for the property next to the police station, owned by Mr. Beebe and Mr. Sneathern for our,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ron's not back in here.
Can we read it?
Item E is the lease agreements that we did a year ago to lease property next to the police department for parking areas. Two individuals, Mr. Sneathern and Mr. Beebe, and we were just asking that these be renewed for this year, this coming year.
Make a motion to pass this voting session.
Do we have a second?
Second. For clarification, is that tonight's voting session?
Yes, I believe
Yes.
it's on the agenda for us.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Item E will be on tonight's voting session. Item 8, action required items. AA, Bill Number 8195. The City Council will take action on an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute lease agreements for the use of property.
Motion for first reading of Bill 8195.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Counselor.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to enter into lease agreements with Jerry and Barbara Sneathern and Larry Beebe for properties adjacent to the Poplar Bluff Police Station.
Motion for second reading.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Counselor.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri to enter into lease agreements with Jerry and Barbara Sneathern and Larry Beebe for properties adjacent to the Poplar Bluff Police Station.
Motion for adoption.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
Is there an increase in this lease agreement between last year?
No, sir, they're exactly the same. 300 for the Sneatherns and 100 for the Beebes, I believe, but there is no increase. We set those up at the time not knowing how long we would need them, and so we didn't put any automatic extensions in the agreement. That's why we will continue to vote on them once a year. But as far as the lease amount, unless someone demands an increased amount that we have to renegotiate, they will remain the same.
Roll call, Clerk Young.
Councilwoman Parson? Yes. Councilman DeGaris?
Yes.
Councilwoman Horton?
Yes.
Councilman Cornman?
Yes.
Councilman Black?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Smith?
Yes. Thank you. Bill number 8195 is adopted. Item BB, the city council will take action on an ordinance updating the International Plumbing Code.
Motion first reading.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Counselor.
An ordinance amending the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri Code of City Ordinances, Section 500, relating to adopting the 2018 International Plumbing Code.
Motion for second reading of bill number 8196.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Counselor.
An ordinance amending the City of Poplar Bluff, Missouri Code of City Ordinances, Section 500, relating to adopting the 2018 International Plumbing Code.
Motion for adoption of Bill 8196.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman DeGaris.
Yes.
Councilwoman Horton.
Yes.
Councilman Cornman.
Yes.
Councilman Black.
Yes.
Councilwoman Parson.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes. Bill number 8196 is adopted. Item CC, Bill number 8197. The City Council will take action on an ordinance approving change order number 2 for the 11th Street roadway project.
Motion for first reading of bill number 8197.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Counselor.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a change order number 2 relating to the Poplar Bluff 11th Street roadway project.
Motion for second reading of Bill 8197.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Counselor.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 2 relating to the Poplar Bluff 11th Street roadway project.
Motion for adoption.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Horton.
Yes.
Councilman Cornman.
Yes.
Councilman Black.
Yes.
Councilwoman Parson.
Yes.
Councilman DeGaris.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes.
Carries.
Bill number 8197 is adopted. Item DD, resolution number 1912. The City Council will take action on a resolution, I'm sorry.
This is,
This is Shelby Road.
this
Was that Shelby?
Yeah.
Okay. Leaving a little early. I'll stay with you.
Okay. The City Council will take action on a resolution with respect to annexation of a certain unincorporated area of the city of Poplar Bluff. Such property described as Shelby Road right-of-way south side of existing Highway PP right-of-way to west side of existing Business 67 right-of-way on Westwood.
Motion for reading of Resolution 1912.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Counselor.
a resolution with respect to the annexation of certain unincorporated areas to the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, such property being described as Shelby Road right-of-way from the south side of PP Highway to the west side of Business Highway 67 and owned by the city of Poplar Bluff.
Do we have a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, Clerk Young.
Councilman Cornman,
Yes.
Councilman Black,
Yes.
Councilwoman Parson,
Yes.
Councilman DeGaris.
Yes.
Councilwoman Horton,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes. 1912 is adopted. Item 8E, resolution number 1913. The city council will take action on a resolution with respect to the annexation of certain unincorporated area of the city of Poplar Bluff, such property being located at 3547 North Westwood, owned by Fellowship General Baptist Church.
Motion for the reading of Resolution 1913.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Counselor.
A resolution with respect to the annexation of certain unincorporated area to the city of Poplar Bluff, Missouri, such property being located at 3547 North Westwood Boulevard and owned by the Fellowship General Baptist Church.
Motion for adoption of Bill 1913.
Second.
Clarification. No. This is for public hearing, correct?
It's calling for a public hearing, yes.
Yes. Okay, I just want to make that clear. Okay. Any further discussion? Oh, we need a roll call now, right?
Yes.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilwoman Parson,
Yes.
Councilman DeGaris.
Yes.
Councilwoman Horton,
Yes.
Councilman Cornman,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Smith.
Yes. Okay, resolution number 1913 is adopted. Item 10, city manager's report.
Y'all tired of listening to me talk tonight? I just once again wanted to thank the department heads. I said we had a $290-something deficit budget. When I got it, it was actually at $587,000 deficit. And some of that was wish list, which I understand, but anytime I've asked a department head to help cut here or cut there, I don't get any complaints. They know they do what they need to do, and I really appreciate that. Like I said, we have excellent department heads. I did want to ask Gary Pride up tonight. He's our airport manager. He's got some information he wants to share with the council about the airport and projects. Gary's done a terrific job out there, just like all of our other department heads, and he gets paid part-time, but he's there a lot more than part-time, I can tell you that. But Gary, if you'd like to come on up.
Gary Pride, your Director of Airport Operations for the City of Poplar Bluff. I just wanted to take a few minutes this evening and update you on some changes and activities which are taking place at our airport. Believe it or not, I've been here a couple years now, and when I was first retained by the city manager, we had a long discussion regarding what we thought was achievable with the resources that were available. And Mark tasked me to apply those resources in a very proactive and focused mission to ensure that our airport was operating efficiently, compliant with all state and federal regulations, and provide prompt, friendly service to our visitors and pilots. And I'm delighted to report this evening that that mission is exceeding the expectations. Now, I know a lot of you don't make it out to the airport every day like we do, and you probably miss a few things, so I wanted to share a few things that go on out there. Like today, for instance, if you'd have been at the airport, you would have seen a Major League Baseball player for the Boston Red Sox who stopped in. Now, that may seem a little shocking, but things like that happen at our airport. Our airport is experiencing record-breaking daily air traffic, with literally thousands of aircraft operations per year. Of the 107 public use airports in the state of Missouri, we rank in the top 20 of the most essential. The size and type of aircraft continues to increase, and I feel most people would be surprised to know that between 40 and 60 jet aircraft operations take place out there every month. We have more business aircrafts supporting manufacturing, industry, and retail outlets within our community, and even more importantly, those which are scouting us to locate future employment opportunities here. We have 40 aircraft that are based on our field, with several others who would either move here or purchase aircraft if we had available hangars. The fixed-wing air ambulance that's based at Poplar Bluff responds every day to medical emergencies across middle America. They transport patients from hospitals to higher-level treatment centers. We average 200 visitors a month which pass through our doors. And that is where they get their first impression of Poplar Bluff. They all come for varying reasons. However, the message to remember here is that the number keeps increasing. Our airport is selling more fuel than ever before in its city-owned history, and we will set a record this year for revenue generated back to the city. These and other good stories we are able to tell have not gone unnoticed by the regulatory agencies which govern our planning and funding opportunities. And I'm proud to report this evening, due to the immense growth our airport is experiencing, the city is now being awarded $4.2 million for a runway improvement project. This construction project will make it possible for larger and heavier aircraft to land at Poplar Bluff. And it's actually the first phase of an additional $7 million construction project that will be planned in the next 5 years. Once completed, we will have a 6,000-foot runway, making commercial passenger service possible right here at home. Now, progress is exciting. However, it also comes with changes. The Federal Aviation Administration has conducted an extensive data on our airport and its mission and its role to our city, our neighboring communities, and to the region. The FAA and the Aviation Division of MoDOT has determined that our airport is no longer a municipal airport. Forecast data indicates population and employment within our region will continue to grow, and therefore the airport must continue to grow to support those needs. The current data indicates the airport is exhibiting characteristics of both a regional and a business airport, and should appropriately change its name to reflect its real mission and status within the region, and also within the federal airspace system. Both the city manager and I agreed with their findings, and I am announcing this evening the airport is officially changing its name to Poplar Bluff Regional Business Airport. The new name properly identifies the airport's function and will additionally provide marketing incentives to commercial, business, and transient aircraft which pass through our airspace. In summation, business is booming at the airport, and anything that we can do to support and contribute to this trend is certainly within the city's best interest. And with involvement and activity being the strongest that I've seen in 20 years, we need to continue to capitalize on this opportunity and provide the equipment, the facilities, and the infrastructure to support the airport's mission. I want to thank you for your trust and the support, and I assure you that I will continue to strive for excellence out there.
Thank you for a good report, sir.
I still like to call it Poplar Bluff International, but
Was that an option?
Not yet.
Inter-county.
You know, Mark, I might add, my grandson that had the transplant last year, our airport was not sufficient to land the jet that had to take him for the transplant to Cincinnati. And I think this new section will make it able, so that'll be really good for other people in that situation.
It will be. It's going to take a few years, but it's going to happen. It's a very busy place now, so. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
I would like to take this opportunity also to thank all of the department heads, along with the airport manager, for being here. And on that note, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I
Do I have a
second it.
second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.
Lisa.